This is the Wild and Fearless podcast. Join Bec Fox, renowned business leader, coach, and avid adventurer, and go inside the hearts and minds of ordinary women doing extraordinary things. Wild and Fearless, women inspiring legendary dreams.
Hey legends! Welcome back to Wild and Fearless. Today, I cannot believe it, we've got the extraordinary Jemma Wilson. And she is a motorbike rider. She's more than a motorbike rider, actually. She's been an Enduro World Champion, and she's really led women onto the world stage for us Aussie girls. And I really do believe you're going to thoroughly enjoy our beautiful interview and podcast with Jemma Wilson. She is one hell of a lady, and she just makes you smile from the inside out. All right, sit back and enjoy. Jemma Wilson, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here on our podcast of Wild and Fearless. You are definitely one hell of a wild and inspirational woman. For those who don't know Gemma's been doing a lot of motocross riding for many years since she was a young child, and she actually leads her own coaching business now and mentors and inspires a lot of young women and women of all ages, I gather. And she'll tell us more about it, of course, as we get into this podcast. So, Jemma, welcome aboard, and it's an absolute privilege to have your happy, smiley face here in the room with us.
Thanks very much, Bec. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And for those who can't see Gemma's just so cool. She's got the most amazing hair. It's all spirally, and it's like a mermaid. And she's just, her face radiates. So you can tell this is a woman that absolutely loves life, and she absolutely enjoys every day that she breathes, without a doubt. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a bit more about you, Jemma. I don't want to spoil your limelight. It's not about me talking, but I know a lot of things that I'd love you to share, such as, where is motocross and motorbike riding taking you? What's your greatest heights?
So motorcycling for me is my whole life, and I don't really know how it happened. It's just such a great thing. I started riding in the bush, same old story. My dad and my older brother rode. We had a house rule. We weren't allowed to ride until we were 12,
right.
Which was a little bit unusual, but that meant I was very, very keen by the time I turned 12. And then rode in the bush with family and friends. And then, had to go at some trail rides, enjoyed them, and then went and did an enduro round when I was maybe 14. And then, so first Queensland at 14, first Aussies when I turned 16, and first
Stop
Worlds.
right there. So so here you are, riding in the bush. Next thing you know, you try your first competition, and you came first in Queensland.
Oh, no, so as in I competed in my first Queensland Championship when I was 14, but
okay.
I think I was the only girl in the boys' class. My last junior race, it was out at Glen Echo, so a local, out near Gympie. I'm from Gympie.
Yep.
So a park out there. I remember it vividly. I beat all the boys and I won that round, but I think it put me third for the championship for that year, which was awesome, very exciting. And then, so 16 I started racing Aussies. I don't think I won for a few years after that.
Up with the big gigs. And
and then my first World Championships was in 2009 and I was 19. And I was part of Australia's first women's team that they sent to the International 6-Day Enduro.
Fantastic.
And that was in Portugal, and it was a really amazing experience. And then, I rode 7 International 6-Day Enduros, which is Team Australia. We all go over together and we team up and compete against all the other countries around the world. You usually have about 28, 32 sort of countries competing.
Wow.
And then I also rode 5 years of the World Enduro Championships as a privateer. So I owned a car and a bike and a quick shade in Europe. And my husband and I drove ourselves around Europe, and we had a lot of support from people that we met over there. It's such a cool community, the Enduro community. And and now I run really amazing events and coach really wonderful people and get to share my knowledge and experiences and get other people to love motorcycling as much as I do.
Oh, it's so fantastic. And for those who don't know what enduro riding is, do you want to unpack that a bit and let them know what you're actually talking about? Because it's quite epic. It's not your everyday motorsport.
Yeah, for sure. So enduro it's motocross bikes, but through the bush. So we have lots of different formats of racing, but without getting too in-depth with it. The World Enduro Championships are like car rallies where you've got special tests and checkpoints. But then we have like sprint laps where you just one rider goes every 20 seconds and it's about a 10-minute lap, and then you wait your turn again, and the person with the least amount of time, it accumulates, wins at the end of the day. And then we also have cross countries where it's like a motocross start, a mass start, but instead of going for like a 30-minute motocross race, you'll go for 3 hours, and it's the first person across the line after 3 hours wins.
Wow.
So and crazy conditions, because you'll be in just a big bull dust rut, that powder dust rut, which was, the 6 days in Sardinia. You'd get in your rut in the morning and 8 hours later you'd get out of the rut. And then Finland in 2011 was you got in your mud rut, your slushy, muddy, cold, awful mud rut, and you got out 8 hours later. The conditions in Enduro are always quite testing. You can also have really beautiful conditions when you have that chocolate cake kind of soil, but they are very few and far between.
Is that hilarious? I think they purposely put the courses in really extreme situations, though, don't they, to really work out the field and who's got the goods and who hasn't.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the World Enduro Championships, they have like enduro tests where it's up and down hills and through creeks and over logs and things, and then usually a cross test where you have motocross jumps and open grass, paddock, kind of flowy stuff, but then extreme tests where it's the extreme stuff, the giant big logs and rocks and
big boulders.
Yeah, big boulders and up and over things that you think, no.
So how do you get there? Like, I really want you to share your story about being the first women's team also on the international stage, because that was quite founding in its time, and it seems it's only a few years ago we're talking about, but you were the first female team to actually hit the international stage, weren't you?
Yeah, it was. Actually, I'm really proud to be a part of that team and to be in the sport at that time, because motorcycling in Australia, you just sort of thought that women wouldn't be able to finish because the international 6 day is quite tough. It's 250, 300 kilometres a day of quite technical riding, and it's, 6 to 8 hours a day on the bike for the first 5 days, and then the last day is a bit shorter, a couple hours ride with the final motocross race at the end. So it's tough, it's big, it's daunting, and they just thought it's a lot of money. We probably won't bother sending the girls.
Oh, really? Wow.
So an outside sponsor actually jumped on board and said, well, if we pay for everything, will you take the girls? And so Motorcycling Australia said yes, and we went to Portugal and we all finished, all 3 girls on the team, and we got third, and I got third individually. No, maybe fourth. I think I got fourth individually. And then from there, Motorcycling Australia, have taken us and supported us from there. And myself, Taylor Jones and Jess Gardner, we won 5 World Championships 5 years in a row.
Oh, that's
Same
amazing.
3 girls on the team, which was pretty cool. So I think that was from...
It's pretty cool, it's
from 2013, 14, 15, 16 to 17, so 2013 to 2017. And then I retired at the end of 2017 from 6 days. And the girl that took my spot, they won again the next year.
Oh, how magic.
So that made it 6 in a row. And then the following year, unfortunately, our reign come to an end.
Other competitors said, we got to beat these Aussies.
Yeah, Taylor hit her head really hard and DNF'd, and Mackenzie DNF'd as well. So I think we got lost. But all good things must come to an end, I suppose.
Exactly,
and then with COVID, they actually haven't had a 6 days since. Although last year it was in Italy, but Australia chose not to attend. Australians haven't had the opportunity to compete
to show again
for the last couple of years.
And I imagine we've still got a really strong female team, because if you've led the way, and there'll be a lot of people saying, well, if this team can do it, we can do it as well. In fact, we could probably improve all the numbers.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that women in the sport, it's changed a lot in quite a short period of time. When I was 12, 14, 16, there was no opportunity to go race the 6 days, so it's kind of hard to have that goal when you can't see it being done.
And there's no females to mentor you or to show you the way either.
Yeah,
and be inspired from.
There's not that goal to kind of aim for. It was vague ideas of what we could maybe do with it if maybe there was a team.
Yeah.
And now, 6-year-old girls can see women competing, Australian women competing and winning on a world stage, which is really exciting. And it's amazing at the moment. The depth of field for young motocross and enduro riders is phenomenal. There's a girl, actually a local girl, Queensland girl, Charlie. I've just
lost it.
Yeah, lost her name. She's Charlie Cannon. She's amazing, and she raced at Toowoomba on the weekend. No, sorry. Conondale on the weekend. And she won the MX2 expert class against the boys.
And fantastic.
That is how fast women in motorsport are going at the moment. We've really kind of finally bridged that gap, I think, and the sky's the limit from here. So it's a really exciting time still to be a female in motorsport, for sure.
Absolutely. And how young can you start in the motorsport and competing? Because you see people on little Pee-wee 50s, don't you? And they're out there it?
So I think actually competing, it's about 7, but you can ride like a Divi 1 class where everyone's a winner. From I think about 4, but you can do recreational rides even younger. So I run the Husqvarna Women's Trial Ride every year, and we have 3-year-olds.
Oh,
and it's so
how gorgeous.
Cute. and now
so
companies are making electric balance bikes.
All right.
So there's like just the balance bikes that kids have, but
perfect.
they've got a throttle, and it kind of looks like a drill battery that you click in.
Yeah.
And my little sister's got one. She's 6, and it's just so amazing that you can learn that throttle control on
a lightweight bike.
Yeah, super young age, and you're not going to fall off and get it stuck on you and burn yourself.
Yeah, and have the weight of it picking it up again.
And Vicky can hear you because it's electric. It's no loud noises and hot
course.
motorcycles. So there's so much cool technology out there as well, just to make people go faster so much younger.
We can't get away from speed. It's just so good. Motorbikes and speed is something else, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you started at 12 and out in the bush with your dad and your brothers. Mm-hmm. Did they also compete?
No. So my dad and my older brother had a bit of a crack at some local enduros, and I was 14 on a 2 big CC size bike to be able to ride when they went and did their first one. I went and watched. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So by the next round, I had a smaller CC bike so that I could have a go. And then the 3 of us did it together for a little bit, and then my older brother went off to work and
did his thing.
And did his thing, and
but then your passion just never died.
And it just kept growing and growing and growing to this point where I'm at now, where bikes are my everyday, and they've been my everyday for the last 15 years.
Oh, how amazing. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's finding what you love doing every day and making it your career, and what the benefit is, you get to share not only your skills, but also you can mentor and inspire other women and all people, I imagine, through your coaching business. So tell us a bit more about that. What do you do?
Yeah, so I do coach a lot of women, and that is definitely my niche.
Yep.
And I have everything from, super new riders who I'm teaching how to use the throttle and clutch, young riders, to 40, 50-year-old women who have never ridden before, and they're like, it's my time. Yay. And so I teach them and I get to share that first ever ride, experience with them as well, which is really exciting. Right through to, I've got a handful of really fast young riders, both female and male at the moment, that I've been coaching, some for the last couple of months, some for the past couple of years, and they're competing in the Australian Off-Road Championships and getting to, share all that race knowledge, because it's different. I love teaching the first timer, let's have a really fun, enjoyable, non-intimidating day on the bike, safe day on the bike. But then I also love going like lap times. Let's get faster. Let's get faster.
PBs.
Yeah. So I'm very lucky that I get to have both of those experiences in my
And there's
sport.
2 facets to that, isn't it? There's a skill of the motorbiking and the actual skill set you need, but there's also that mindset as well. So how much do you work on the mindset as well as the skills?
So again, depending on the rider. So when I have a event or a day with someone who's there to have a fun time, I never talk about speed. Mm-hmm. We talk about safety and using less energy so that you enjoy riding more, and we really just focus on the fun. But quite often it's the exact same skills. Yeah. And so then I have a fast person come in and I'm teaching the exact same skills, but we just change the language and about being fast, but also keeping it fun. And so when I'm coaching 13, 14-year-old kids, it's got to be fun. If it's not fun, why are you there? And so getting to interact with the parents as well, I get to work with some really wonderful parents too about, how to portray the right attitude on race day so that they don't upset the kids as well, and asking the right questions at the right times, and because that's something that I experienced a lot. Like my dad and I are super close, but we did have a bit of a hiccup in the middle of the racing there, where I was like, well, I don't need my dad anymore. I'm too old to need my dad. And we kind of parted ways for a little bit, but we've come back together and have a wonderful relationship. And I learn a lot from that, so I do get to share that knowledge as well.
And everyone's different on the race day, aren't they? Like you can be in a really relaxed state when you're out pleasure riding or even being coached, but when it's race day, it's on. So that's when sometimes you need more support or you need less support, like give me my space and let me compete.
Yeah, and everyone's different. And that's something that I think is really important from a coaching perspective, is to create that race environment as often as possible.
Yes.
So, a training session, you try to simulate the race day. And that's something that I know helped me so much to take me from being a fast trail rider to knowing how to switch on and race. And and I love I coached a young fellow on Tuesday afternoon, so last night. And it was his last training session before he goes to the Aussies this weekend, and to get to have that last training session with him before he goes off.
Exciting.
And, see how he goes on the weekend.
We're cheering for you.
But it's actually all these boys, and they all compete against one another, and I coach them all, so I'm very torn. I want them all to win.
I want you all to be on the podium. There's all of you get up there.
But they're all really good mates, and all their parents are really good mates, and that's
good.
really
it's
important.
It's such a good community,
well.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about fun and how important it is to have fun, and there's without a doubt we learn our best when we're having fun or enjoying. We actually engage more and we're open-minded to new skills, and also we handle failure and falls and offs as you call it in the motorbike world, a lot easier. So you've had many offs, I imagine, and you've also broken many bones and had many collisions. Tell us about how you get back on the bike, because it's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, I have had my fair share, unfortunately, and I did always take recovery very, very seriously, and I would change, whole diets and just focus on getting back on the bike as quickly as possible, and having the right people in place, the right physios, right doctors, making the right decisions is really important. But I think that you can be very professional about the way that you're going to deal with your body, but it's really hard to overcome big accidents, I think, in your head. I always found it quite difficult. And even when I thought I was over one, I broke both my ankles in 2012. And I was like, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I've done all the right things, I've got out of my wheelchair, I'm back on the bike. And then I was over racing a round of the World Championships in Portugal, and there was a drop-off, which was how I broke both my ankles originally. And I could not make myself ride off of it, and I was slowing right down and taking the chicken line, which added a lot of time.
Yep.
And just by chance, the fella that I was riding with when I broke both my ankles just outside Parks, he happened to be in Portugal cheering us on.
Oh, wow.
And he was standing there at that one drop-off, and he felt so bad for me breaking my ankles, but it wasn't his fault, and I didn't want him to feel bad that I wasn't jumping off of it. So I jumped off it.
Oh, you did it for him.
Yeah, but, to overcome it that first time, and then it was like, that was easy, no problem. And I sort of didn't even realise I had that block in my head.
Until approaching it.
Until, fourth, lap of the day when I finally jumped off the ledge. I was like, okay, not
I've
so
got
bad.
this now. Give me another ledge. Give me a bigger one.
And that's another thing too that I get to share now with young athletes is how important recovery is, and making the right decisions early on. Once you crash.
Looking after yourself physically, but also your mindset's really important, and getting back on the horse, if you like, back on the bike, and because you are going to have fear. There's going to be innate that you're going to have that. Your unconscious is going to tip in, come back in and go, you know what, you've hurt yourself really badly last time you did one of these. So your body and your internal intrinsic self will be saying, yeah, you've hurt yourself, let's avoid this. And that's where fear kicks in, and it purely is trying to keep you safe. So it's about smashing through that fear zone and giving it a crack, because you're always going to come out the other end. And then once you do it once, right, you can improve on it again and again and again.
Yeah.
So it's so good hearing you
I was
share
running
that
an
story.
event on the weekend actually with all ladies, and Marnie, super, super cool, like middle-aged, newish to bikes. She'd been to one of my events before, come back again, and she had a bit of a whiskey throttle moment.
Oh,
so
yes.
when you accidentally pull the throttle on and your brain just kind of freezes and the bike gets away on you. And it was quite lucky because she whiskey throttled only from like half the distance between me and you straight into a tree.
Oh, wow.
But
lucky.
she didn't have time to pick up speed to hurt herself.
Yeah.
And she just accordioned her front guard in and it popped back out. So it was like it never even happened, but it definitely rattled her. And
it would have shaken her.
But talking to her at the end of the weekend, and she's like, do you think that the bike's just too much for me? And I'm like, no, Marnie, everybody has that whiskey throttle moment.
Yep.
It's just whether it's early on in your riding career and you haven't had time to fall in love with the bike yet, or if you're lucky if it's a bit later on and you've already found all the good things with motorcycle riding, and then you'll be able to push through it. And, you love riding, you're good at it. Everyone has those moments.
It's just how it
push
is.
through it, show up at the next
you're
one,
always
and you'll have a good time.
You're always going to have an off. You're always going to have a whiskey throttle. Yeah.
So, it was good that it happened where it happened, and she had the the support of all of the girls to be like, no, Marnie, it happens.
It happens. It happens to all of us. It's like tripping over. It's going to happen one day. And that's what's so important, isn't it? Because I motorbike ride, for those of people that know me, and I love adventure motorbike riding. I don't do it competitively, but I know so many women who get into the sport, and they last a couple of years until they have their first major off, and then they're so fractured in their mind. They're so fractured of hopping back on the bike, and if they hop back on the bike, they're often far more tentative, far more timid, which creates another accident, of course, because you've got to ride quite aggressively, and you often have to put the throttle in when you want to actually take it off and put your feet down. You got to do the polar opposite to get through stuff like thick mud and bull dust and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I find. A lot of women who don't have the support around them, or they're trying to keep up because their fellas will put them on a bigger bike.
Yes.
It's too big for them, or they're trying to keep up with their fellas. They just, unfortunately, they lose the sport. They lose the love and the passion and the fun out of the sport. So what do you have to say to those women who, because I believe every single person in this universe should ride a bike, because they're so freeing and the feeling you get is just like nothing else, but a lot of people are very timid of it due to fear, purely due to fear, or having an accident early on. What do you say to that?
Well, anyone who hasn't given it a go, I definitely say give it a go, but give it a go on the right environment. So on the right size bike, the smaller and lighter the better to begin with, because then you won't be scared of the size of it while you're getting the handle of the controls and what to do. And somewhere, nice and open, where you're not going to run into a fence or a car or a house or a pool.
A pool, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah. And then anyone who's had an accident and then is a bit timid to get back on in the right environment. And coaching is such a cool thing. And motorcycle coaching, I feel, for the past 10, 20 years, it's really only been available to racers.
Yep.
But more and more and more, it's available to everyone. And I run a lot of like trail ride coaching and that entry level coaching, where it's equally as important how much we ride and how much we socialise and make friends that also ride motorcycles, because then you're going to go do it more if you have mates that ride. When girls have injured themselves or guys have injured themselves, to come and do a day's coaching, it's getting the feel of how the bike works underneath you, and instead of guessing and puckering up and hoping for the best, getting told how to do things and why that's going to work for you. Use less energy, be safer. Everyone leaves a day of coaching with heaps more confidence, and that's what it's about. So, when people have hurt themselves and they're a bit timid about getting back on the bike, you try and get some coaching from someone that you trust that's going to put you in the right environment and have a good time on the bike. Yeah,
and if you're ever feeling scared, you need to look at who you're with, who you're riding with, what environment you're in. Are you doing things that are well beyond your competence? Because there is definitely a training. You have to do a lot of training to get out in the hardcore stuff, without a doubt. You can't just go from bitchy rides to adventure motorbike riding through bush, one track trails. You're just mad. We can if you're really, really cool. But most people, there is definitely a stepping process, isn't there, of learning the skills.
Yep.
And learning about your bike, as you say. Get on a new bike, whole new game. It's like hopping on a new horse, whole new personality. Yeah. Now, I would love you to share a story that I heard you say at a big keynote you ran in a big, large statewide awards night, which is the first time I met you, and I'll never forget you from that moment. And you spoke about how you actually rode a bike up a big boulder. Can you share that story? Because I'm just still gobsmacked.
It was one of the extreme tests. It was in Sweden, in Enköping, and we'd been there and raced in that same section of land 2 years earlier, and I was too chicken to go up the boulder. So I took the chicken line, which was lots of chicanes, and felt like you were riding all the way into the city and back out again.
penalty.
Yeah, to get around this rock. So it was really cool to get the opportunity to show back up to the same place 2 years later and see how much better of a rider I had gotten from working hard for 2 years. And I had the confidence and ability to go up this giant rock. And it was raining as well.
Oh, slippery as well. Oh my goodness.
But it was a sandstone rock, so it was quite porous and still quite grippy. And we did like 2 laps each day of the big course. So I had 4 attempts of this big boulder, and I made it up 3 of the times. And the 4th time I felt like I'd done everything the same. And then I remember thinking, the ground's coming towards my face.
Shouldn't be coming towards my face.
And then I got up and my bike had stayed on top of the rock.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Some spectators had got it up and facing in the right direction by the time I'd climbed up and around. And so it was still quicker than going the chicken line.
So you literally hopped back on your bike on top of the rock and back.
Yeah, and rode away. So yeah, even the crash worked out better than
that's
going
so
around.
Funny.
So
funny.
so that was really cool. And that same year we rode like Finland one weekend, Sweden the next.
Yep.
And there was this giant rock in Finland as well that I did do both times, but the first time I did it very sketchy for a couple times and then fell off 3/4 of the way up and slid all the way back down, knowing that the bike was coming down behind me.
Yes, yeah.
And then the following 2 years later, I made it up nice and clean every time. So yeah, that was
you need
was
some
cool.
courage. That's huge. I still can't fathom how you do it. And for those who are watching and listening, probably thinking, how would you get your bike on top of a boulder and then back off again? Off, we understand. Gravity will take you off, but getting up, like, how do you do it? Like, it's still. Blows my mind.
Yeah, it's
the right pivot point. It's the right
and it's that incremental. I went home from that first time we went to Sweden being like, I need to be able to do that kind of obstacle, and then we built some things at home where it was this big and then this big and then this big and then this big, and that's how you get better at things without braining yourself and wrecking your confidence more.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love it. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, you run a lot of coaching now. I watch you all the time on your social media. So Jemma Wilson coaching, it's just fantastic. I love that you're always encouraging women and young girls to get out there, and all people. Mm-hmm. But I love the pink. I love the fluoro. I love all the colours, and I love the fact that you run a lot of weekends and get away and come and coach with other women as well as Jemma, so as well as yourself. Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit more about your coaching, and because I really love for the listeners who, if you do live locally or in Australia, to come and join you on your coaching weekends. They have raging reviews, and I know just being around you is such an honour, and you exuberate this just happiness, and you just beam life. So I think it's very worthwhile coming and joining you, and to have you as a coach, whether it be one-on-one or one-to-many, would just be fantastic. So tell us a bit more about your coaching business.
So I run everything from one-on-one to coaching weekends with anywhere up to 30 girls. 25 seems to be like the perfect number. Yep. And so the one-on-ones, it's book online, and I use a property just outside Gympie, which has a little bit of everything. It's a fantastic coaching property. And I often get like husband and wife combos, father and son combos, and that's really cool.
Mother and daughter combos.
Yeah, mother and daughter combos. Quite often as well, whole family groups and friend groups get together and get 15 or 20 of them, and then book me to come to their property and coach for the weekend. And that's always a really cool environment. But then I also run the Fox Women's Off-Road Campouts. I've been running them. I think this is my 6th year, and we're up to, I ran, because of flooding in Gympie, I had to do some postponing. So it was Camp Out 22 last weekend and Camp Out 21 this weekend. But my 22nd Camp Out this weekend. And they're designed for women over the age of 18. Because it's for the mums to come and not have to worry about kids, and making sure they're fed and fueled and safe and happy. Yeah. And it's bring your bike and your bed, and we feed you, we look after you. And it's just such a fun weekend. It's so cool. And we start from the beginning, and we work our way through over 2 days on what to do to ride the bike and have fun and be safe. And then I also run the Husqvarna Women's Trail Ride, which is 250 women.
Wow.
Which is amazing at Green Park at Conondale. And that's 3 years old to 63 years old. And every ability and every type of bike, it's just the most fun weekend. And we have live music on the Saturday night and camping, and the local P&C puts on amazing food. So again, mums don't have to cook.
Yeah, exactly. It just takes that. Oh, I'm coming.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And then I also run the Dry Times Women's Ride Day, which is at MX Farm, which is a really cool property just outside Gympie, but can be a little bit intimidating. So we hire the whole park and have 150 women there, and you get to ride on the tracks that maybe you wouldn't usually. You'd be worried about getting jumped on by some fast motocross rider.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
So that's an amazing weekend as well, and we do some extra little things there too to make it extra fun. But yeah, so a lot of my events are Southeast Queensland because that's where I'm at, but I do also run 2 Fox Women's Off-Road Campouts at Bright in Victoria.
Oh, Bright, so beautiful.
Yeah, such a cool property there. The most beautiful family let me use their property. And we do back-to-back weekends because it's very popular, so we sell out down there. And then a 1,000-acre property at Gloucester. So,
oh, really? Wow.
Like north and inland from Newcastle. And again, it's just
New
such
South
a
Wales.
marvellous property. It's right on the Barrington River. And
Oh,
it's
how
just
amazing.
brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, Barrington Tops. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
And then I do try to get to other states as well. So before COVID happened,
Yep.
I had started running ladies only event over in WA.
Yep.
I'd like to get to Tassie this year. Been talking with, the club.
Well, if we have
contact
anyone
me
who's listening in and you've got a fantastic property in any other state, it sounds like they can just give you a call and say, hey, Jemma, I've got the property, you bring the goods and attract all the people, we'll have an event here.
Yeah, so it's really cool. And I mean, motorcycling, like you said, it gives you freedom. And so my whole life I've loaded up my van and I've, driven myself down to Victoria and raced.
Exactly.
And then, 2 weekends later in South Australia. So I'd cruise around in my van and go ride at people's places and have these amazing
lifestyle.
experiences. And now I don't race. I retired in 2018. But I still get to have all those experiences, and I load my bikes up and I go to these beautiful properties with these wonderful women and amazing coaches that help me out, and I get to choose the time of year.
Yes, exactly.
So the right temperature.
Exactly.
I still get all of the joys
joy.
that I used to from racing without the competition that I had enough of. I'd been doing the same thing for about 15 years and I'd been there, done that. Yeah. But I've still got to keep all the fun stuff from
your
motorcycling.
passion, and now you can share it with everyone. And coaching, there's something about there's a lot about fulfillment that you get from sharing your knowledge and being a coach. There's people love being coached and they love having coaches, but also I don't think people realise how much as a coach it rewards you, which it really does, doesn't it? Yeah.
So I'm quite an easygoing person, but when it comes to events, I want everything to be perfect, so I do get quite stressy.
Yep.
I feel very sorry for my husband pre-event, and it's because I want them to be amazing and perfect, and every girl to have just the best weekend and leave with happy thoughts and smiles on their faces. And I got distracted thinking about poor John then.
Oh, we always need our support crew behind us, yeah.
So I forgot what we were talking about.
Yeah, no, but being a coach is so rewarding.
Oh, being a coach, yeah. So sometimes I do think, oh, God, why do I do this? Because, yes, it's my passion. I love motorcycling, but the 2 weeks pre-event in the office organising everything isn't riding motorcycles. No. But then as soon as the first girl rolls in and she's petrified, but we help her and get her set up, and then the next girls roll in and they all help one another get set up. And then by the end of the weekend, everyone's made all these new friends and they've shared contact details and they're going to go riding next weekend without me organising it.
It's so good.
And they've just had the best time. And then I remember, that's why I do this. Yeah.
And you've had mentors all your way. Like that first initial sponsor who sponsored you guys, what a champion, whoever they were. Big shout out to them, because everywhere, somewhere in your life, you're always going to have a mentor or a coach who's helped you along the way, and that's how life happens. So you're giving back now enormously. Imagine all those little 3-year-olds now that you're training, what future they have in motorbiking. It's just going to be enormous. Their potential, what they vision for themselves is far beyond what you probably envisioned for yourself, right? Because you're leading the way. So huge congratulations to you, Jemma. You are an absolute inspiration, without a doubt. Please, if there's anything you'd like to share to all our listeners, people are going to be listening to this podcast for decades to come. They're still going to remember this podcast going, I remember speaking to Jemma when, she's still in her young 20s and, aspiring coach and doing some fantastic things. How do they reach out to you? Because I know you're going to have this Jemma Wilson coaching for many decades, because it's what you love doing. You live and breathe it. So how do they reach out to you?
So jemmawilson.com is my website, and everything that I do is there, all the events. That's where you enter. That's where you watch cool videos. And there's a calendar there where I'm going to be not just at my own events, but other cool events in motorcycling that I take part in and have fun at.
Come and say hello.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess my biggest thing is just have a go. And that's just not just with motorcycling, but with everything. And I'm actually 33 this year.
Oh, there you go. Well, you don't look at unbelievable, right?
But I got it from my dad, which is really cool. He was always like, I've never been the best at everything, but I've always given everything a go. Yeah. And that's definitely how I've lived my life. And so now, something will pop up and I'll be like, I know how to do that, and I know how to handle that, and I know how to manage that, because I had a go at that one thing 10 years ago, even though people were like, why are you wasting your time on that? It's got nothing to do with you. But so just have a go at motorcycling, but take every opportunity that you ever get because you never know where it will lead.
Yeah, you got to say yes, don't you? And then you work out how later.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love that. The biggest key message and I asked Jemma to think about, one key message to send to all of you is, have a go. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome, Jemma. It's been an absolute pleasure, hasn't it, guys, having Jemma on today. And if you'd like to add anything else, Jemma, please feel free. Otherwise, we're going to say that's a wrap. It's been an absolute honour to have you here.
No, thanks very much.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, mate.
Ta.
Big high fives.